of entertainment, the best of news, the best of information, something that is educational.
Good afternoon and welcome once again to the Polity, reaching you live from the Abuja studios of Kaftan Television. As usual, we have a lot in store for you, particularly today. On Friday, we have the week in review coming to you much later, perhaps at about the end of the program, to catch you up to speed with all the events and happenings that happened in the Polity through the course of the week. But for this segment or this edition of the program, we will be starting with the main topic of discourse for today, which is the race for the leadership of the House of Assembly and the race for the key positions that are up for grabs right now with the current or the soon-to-be inaugurated 10th Assembly. It's shaping up to be quite a competitive one, and we will be taking a look at arguments for and against issues such as zoning, experience, capacity, competence, and others. Joining me to do some justice to this is Aminu Mutowali. He's the APC stakeholder, an APC stakeholder in Zamfara State, and also Mr. Richard Oriri. He's a journalist. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon.
It's my pleasure.
It's good to have you.
Thank you.
And as always, I am Ahmad Inobe. Welcome to the program. Now let's start from the basics. I'll start with you, Mr. Mutowali.
Right.
The race is heating up. We've been seeing left and right agitations and backings for various candidates. But let's start with the basics. What are your general thoughts of what the expectations this time around, considering that we have a president-elect and a vice president-elect already? What is your take on the way you expect the leadership of the House to go?
Thank you very much. And before I move further, I would like to make a little correction. I'm actually from Katsina State,
okay.
but happens to be within the same zone with Zamfara. And also, I would like to emphasize on the importance of having the right leadership in the legislative arm of the government. And it's not just only important to the legislators, but it is also important even to the common man in Nigeria. We are members of the party, and we understand and we know the right people and we know the right things that should be done. Our president-elect has made a promise that he's going to run a government of unity. That is a very, very, very special thing that the president-elect has mentioned. So we need the legislative arm of the government to be in to complement the executive. We need the right leadership in the House so that that leadership will complement. So I believe now the most important thing is we look at it from two angles, from two perspectives. One is the subjective. In my own opinion, my own thought, I think, regarding the zoning, that the zoning should be done in a way that it will carry everyone along in this country. We have the president-elect from the Southwest. We have the vice president-elect from the Northeast. And also, we even have the party chairman from the North Central as of now. And of course, the next is the leadership in the National Assembly, which will be the Senate President and then the Speaker. Now, for the speakership position, because I feel it concerns me even more because I come from the Northwestern zone, so I should speak for the Northwestern people, I believe that it will only be fair to have the speaker from the Northwest. I hope that answers your question.
All right, just one follow-up before we come to Mr. Richard. When you say the speaker, you know, you can't fail to forget that there is a position in between. So people might wonder, why do you want, or why do you feel equity or the equality would fit in with the speaker and not perhaps the Senate? Because there are persons who say it should be the Senate who gets that. That zone should go to the Senate, not House.
Now, that is where we will look at it from the objective point of view. As I said, for fairness and equity, the leadership of the Senate shouldn't go to the North, because the North has the seat of the Vice President. It shouldn't go to the North. I believe it will only be fair for that position to go to the South, be it the South-South or the South-East. I would rather leave it this way and say the South. But for the speakership position, I believe it should be zoned to the Northwest. For that, in fact, even in conformity with the federal character principles, I think, you know, to carry everyone along, I think it should be zoned to the Northwest.
All right, fair enough. Let's come here, Mr. Ariri. What do you make of this, the race so far, and what importance do you think should really be placed on the competition we're seeing about who comes out on top?
Famous. Thank you very much for inviting me for this program.
It's good to have you.
And what we are talking about today is about Nigeria. It's not about individual, and it's not about region. It's not about state, but it's about the country. And in recognizing that, the leadership of a National Assembly, to be specific, Senate and the House of Representatives, just like my brother Aminu said, we have 6 principal positions from these 3 arms of government, which is the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. We have 6 principal officers, and these 6 principal officers have to go round the 6 geopolitical zone, because as it is today in Nigeria today, we are so battered, so shattered, so wounded as it is, and to make other Nigerians outside to feel still part of the country, the best we can do, to me, is to see that everyone is carried along. And in democracy, once there is inclusion, there will be a kind of the tension for not being carried along by other sections of the country will down. And to heal the wound that is already before us, the best thing is to spread the position. And just like he analyzed, the president-elect, Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu, is from the south and narrowed to southwest. And coming to the position of vice president is to the north and narrowed to the northeast. Okay, now there is so much agitation on the street now that the Senate president have to go to south. And if Senate president have to go to south, and if you look at it very critically, in 1999 when Obasanjo became president, the Senate president went to south and narrowed to southeast. That was when almost all the states within the southeast made it up to the Senate president office. We have Anyim Payosi from Ebonyi. We have Kem Namani from Enugu. We have Adolphus Wabara from Abia also. We have this other person from Imo State. I've forgotten the 5th person from Imo State. The 5 states within the southeast rotated the Senate presidency among themselves because of 1 or 2 issues that came up that time. So this time now that the president-elect is coming from south again, I think is the best thing to do is to allow the Senate president to go to south. And if Senate president go to south, deputy Senate president to me, have to come to the North Central. And if it comes to North Central, then you go to House of Representatives. If you look at it, if North Central have had it, if a Deputy Senate President go to North Central, then the Senate President go to South, either narrowed to South-South or Southeast. It means what you have left in the North now will be Northwest, because Vice President is already in the Northeast. Now, if Deputy Senate President come to North Central, then Northwest will be left out. And for Northwest to not to feel excluded from the government, I think the Speaker of the House of Representatives, since it's coming to the North, it has to be narrowed to Northwest. I think that is my own opinion on that matter.
Well, that's fair enough. So I'd like us to break down some arguments or counter-arguments by some persons. Now, you say that it should come to the Northwest. That is assuming the Senate somehow is the South. But there is an argument that the party should take into account those who showed up for them the most. Now, while the Northwest can be said to have brought in the most votes for the candidacy of the president-elect, it is explained that there's an analogy, that has been used, that when someone has 10 of something and another person has 5, if the person with 10 gives 6 and the person with 5 gives 5, the 5 is more weighty because they've given everything they have, while the other one has the luxury of extra 4. So this analogy is used for North Central and Northwest, that if the North Central has the most states with the APC now, who delivered during the election for the APC, why should they be the ones to perhaps make do with a deputy position? Why shouldn't they be the one to get the seat? So how would you respond to that? Why is the Northwest ahead of the North Central in this regard?
Well, I would like to, just like as my brother did his analysis, if we're talking about the North Central, I would say even the party chairman of APC is from the North Central. So I believe it is only fair because that is a very, very significant position as well. So I believe it will only be fair, to spread. As my brother did his analysis, of course, the president-elect from the South, North. So it is only the Northwest that has been left a vacuum, I would say. And remember, we all saw the figures during the presidential election. If we're talking about, yes, Northwestern states, let us narrow it down to states in the Northwest. I think even in Kaduna State, our president-elect didn't get much votes. I think it was PDP that made so much votes, more than the APC. But in Zamfara State, because I wish we're not going to even start discussing about narrowing it down to the states, because it's not a matter of the states within the Northwest. It is more of a matter of the right candidate, be it from anywhere, the right candidate. I'll give you an example. If you intend to buy a car now, of course you have a lot of things to consider. Resale value, fuel efficiency, probably cheap spare parts, and the rest. You would like to consider all these things as qualities before choosing a car. Now, this is exactly what we should do, considering who would take the number 4 position in the country. Regardless of the zoning is very important, okay? It's very important, more especially in party level. But we're talking about Nigeria here. And talking about Nigeria, we need to look at the right people to do the right job. So I believe, and I want to also emphasize, that it is very, very important for the party, APC, to look into this for equity, to zone the seat to the Northwest. Because if we are not given, if the Northwest is not given the position of Speaker, then it means a huge vacuum has been left in the Northwest.
All right. One more question before we start to narrow in on the candidates or specific candidates. I'd like to get your thoughts on the issue of competence. Now, when you take it back to the election, pre-election all the way up to campaigns, the president-elect picked a Muslim ticket, or ended up with a Muslim ticket. And when there were questions of balancing and fairness and equity, the response was competence. So, in this regard, is it now time to consider, zoning and equality over competence, or is there a way both can go hand in hand?
There is no way, there's no how we will shelve competence in the case before us as a nation today. Because outside capacity, there's no how anyone we elect or appoint today to lead the country that will do well. We need competent person to manage the position of both Speaker of the House of Representatives and the Senate President. This is because, why in the first instance, why you see the party that have won the presidency now pushing that the both Senate President and Speaker should come from the party, is because the party have their manifesto, and without the legislative arm, the executive arm will not function effectively well. And if you allow somebody from outside the party to be the head of this legislative arm, it means policies that will be generated from this arm of government will not be in line with the manifesto of the party in power. And if that happens, securing second tenure will be very difficult for the same political party. So right now, what we should take very seriously as it is now is, one, anyone like this position of a speaker that is zoned to North, anyone coming to ventilate his or her interest to say, I want to be the speaker, or I want to be deputy Senate President from the North, and the one shift zone to South, let's say the Senate President of Etina, if he's zoned to South, anybody that will ventilate his or her interest for the position, we have to check them from this angle of religion. Is this person a religious fanatic? Because the only thing that will make Nigeria to come back again as a country that majority are not afraid of is when we don't have leaders that see other religion as inferior. When we don't have leaders that does not have respect for other religion. Because it's very clear in the country today, we have two sharp religion, Christian and Muslim, and Islam, Christianity and Islam. And we are one. And the oneness of these two religious group is what makes us a country. Is what makes us Nigeria. Is why we see ourselves outside, even outside the country, to be a very strong, united nation. So, for that reason, any of these persons agitating or saying that I want to be speaker, I want to be Senate President, we have to see you as somebody who will not undermine the other religion. Just the other day I was talking about the current deputy speaker of the House of Representatives, Wasi. There was a time that was during the time of NSAS. One House of Representative member tried to make a case. He wanted to come up with a point of order in the House concerning the NSAS movement. Wase was the one presiding that day. it was not the speaker, the honorable speaker, Honorable Bajabiamila, that was on the stage presiding over the plenary. So in that manner, the way a manner was a short Honorable Sinapella from Oyo State. The way a manner he shot him down in the angle, the area of religion was so sharp. And somebody like Wase has shown clearly to Nigerians that he is a religious fanatic. And such a person cannot even come up at all to say he wants to be a leader of a house like a House of Representatives, to be a speaker, where we have majority Muslims, majority Christians. Because the moment you are not taking along every session, every region, every religion along together with whatever you are doing in the house, you will definitely cause confusion in the house and Nigeria entirely. So now, I thank God, we have candidates from the north presently now who have ventilated their interest to lead the 10th National Assembly as speaker. We have them who are not religious, who are not fanatics at all. They have most of them have Christians as their drivers. Most of them have Christians as their secretary. Somebody like the honorable member representing one constituency from Zamfara State, the person of Honorable Jaji. Jaji displayed to Nigerians at the time of this electioneering campaign, because he chaired one committee called Contact and Mobilization. And if you look at the way Amana Jaji related with everyone in the committee, both Christians and Muslims, you will see clearly that we have a future in the mind and the philosophy of some of these young ones in this parliament. And if you go to the other side of it again, we have another person again from Kaduna, who is Abbas. We have one other person again from Kano, who is contesting. That one ventilated his interest whether last 3 or 4 days ago. Doguwa too. But Doguwa is seen to be somebody that is a religious fanatic. Doguwa is seen to be someone that is a religious fanatic. But at the end, we will all talk to our representatives. I have a constituency, a federal constituency, and I have a representative. You have a constituency, you have a representative. My friend Aminu Montawale, he has a constituency, he has a representative. We have to go back to our various federal constituencies and talk to our representatives. We are analyzing here on television now and discussing with our friends outside our federal constituencies. And we now know the best persons to lead Nigeria. There's so much wound now, so much broken walls, which we need to put together. If you go to the street, you will see how silent Nigerians are. That is to tell you that there's a lot to be done to see how everyone will come together again and see the country as their country. And I thank God. The other day, the president-elect was in Rivers State, yes, for project commissioning. He said it clearly that he will not marginalize any section of the country. And since that is coming from the president-elect and the incoming head of the executive, who will be implementing all the laws that will be made from this National Assembly, I think we have hope by the grace of God. But coming to this National Assembly leadership position, we should not shave at all competency. And in these young guys like Jaji, we have seen competence in their display of leadership from committee. It is not the first time that he is coming to the National Assembly as a member. He was there before. It was in 2019 that he contested for governor. 2019 he was not there. He was not in the National Assembly. He went to contest for governor in 2019. It didn't favor him, but he never threw away the party. He stood by the party, and this 2023 he chose to come back again to the National Assembly. And from one or two things he has achieved in the past, if you look at his record, I have personally researched on him, and I have seen that he's a young man who have a brighter future for all of us as youth. The competency cannot be shelved.
All right, that's fair enough. I'd like to get your thoughts too on specific candidates and who you feel is the best. But before that, quickly, how do you think this is going to go within your party in terms of zoning? We've seen some persons or a lot of persons already saying they will accept the position of the party. Will the party go on? We know that there was a meeting the other day that had a lot of the stakeholders, lasted for hours, but there was no concrete resolution. How do you think that will go within the party?
I'll give you an assurance, because the APC is a refined party, and whatever decision the party will make, I assure you it will be the right decision. But as sons of the party, of course, we are members and sons of the party, because we are, more to the youth section of the party. I would like to make this point that I believe, or I am calling on to the leadership of our great party, that not just consider, among many factors to be considered, I believe age should also be considered. Because I back in what Honorable my friend has said on Honorable Aminu Jaji, I was opportuned to even serve under the directorate he chaired. I was in the Presidential Campaign Council Contact and Mobilization Committee, which was headed by Aminu Jaji. He's a young man, and we saw the display of diligence. We saw the display. We saw true leadership in him. But going back to the analogy I made to you earlier of perhaps if you're intending to buy a car, of course you won't go to the market and you'll be showed a car packed and they tell you that it has a brain box issue, and then you still want to buy it. It will need you to take that car probably to the best technicians in the country. I think Kano has the best technicians for brain box, electrical brain box, and the rest. So we, regardless of, I said, as I said earlier, narrowing it down to states, no. If we look at the Northwest, who is the best candidate? Be it from any state, 7 states that we have in the Northwest, who is the best for this job? And I'll tell you now, it is Aminu Jaji. 100%. So we are calling first on our great party for the zoning to be done in favor of Aminu Jaji, if not for anything, but for us to benefit immensely from his qualities in the leadership of the House.
All right. We would like perhaps some more details on why you believe so. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is his second stint in the House.
Yes.
Do you believe that counts as enough experience to become the leader of the House?
Absolutely. He was voted by his people, which the House has about 360 members, but his people, his constituency, voted for him.
Others can say the same.
Well, yes, others can say the same, and that is why now we are talking about one, age, which is a very, very important factor, because we need younger people in the legislative arm. That is one, because majority of the members of the House are people of the younger scale. So it will be of great importance to have the leadership by somebody that understands his members So age is a very, very important factor, number one. Number two, the zoning, I would say, would definitely favor us. Makes him a better option. I hope you understand what I mean. So I believe that Aminu Jaji is somebody that will complement, you know, in making the electoral promises the president has made. Honorable Aminu Sani Jaji will be the right man for the job.
All right. You know, that aside, there is a concern. With the current assembly, the 9th assembly, there are always rumors dogging the body as a whole that they were referred to as a rubber stamp assembly. Just the other day, we saw the Senate retroactively passing the appeal from the president to borrow from the central bank. That is, the president asked for permission and went ahead before getting it, and still the Senate agreed afterwards. So that being said, a lot of people say that the current assembly just basically accedes to the whims of the executive at all times. So that being said, with Jaji possibly as a candidate of choice for Speaker, House of Reps, do you see a situation where we might start to see the checks and balances that the system of government we run is known for? Is this someone that when push comes to shove, it can stand before the president and say, this is not how things are, it has to be done this way? Do you see that in him?
Generally, in Nigeria and some other African countries that practice democracy, the problem we are having is the problem of winners take all. And in true democracy, the moment you don't have original checks and balance between the three arms of government, there is no how that country will experience good governance. But what we are praying is that the new persons coming on board should be people that will place the interests of the country above their self-interest, above their party interests, above their state interests, above their clan interests. If you look at Nigeria, you will see that the interests of the elite class generally is about self, it's about clan, it's about ethnic, and it's about religion, not about the country. India, for example, comparatively, India, for example, they practice democracy. And the interests of the elite class in India is tailored towards human capital development. That is their national value. But if you look at the elite class in Nigeria, why we have not had governance, true governance in the country, is because the elite class in this country, they don't have a defined goal of the nation at heart. A true defined goal of the nation should, like if you America that we borrow democracy from, their national value is about democracy and open market economy. They have national value. Russia, why Russia and Ukraine are in conflict today is because Russia, they are trying to protect their national value, which is what? Socialism. You get my point? So, allowing Ukraine to join NATO will undermine Russian national interests. And that was one of the reasons you see Russia launching attack on Ukraine, just to protecting the national interests of Russia. America can go to war against any country that is doing anything against their national value, which is democracy and open market economy. But in Nigeria today, we don't have one single, there's no how you ask any citizen of this country, what is the national interest of national value of our country? For one to stand openly and say this is our national value is rare. So I pray that the people who have been elected from the various federal constituencies and senatorial districts coming on board now to formulating public policy which will be implemented by the executive should be the people that will think about the nation first before party. So, coming to your question, as it is, the rubber stamp legislators that the 9th National Assembly was tagged. We cannot still separate the incoming 10th Assembly from that angle. But all we should be praying is that 70 to 80% of them should have that maturity and boldness that will make them speak on national interests with the president. Because some of these laws, some of these bills sent to National Assembly, they are executive bills. And these executive bills are carved out of the manifestos of the party. These are promises made to Nigerians during electioneering campaign. We will do, our party will do this, our party will do this, our party will do that. And the only way you can implement that for you to keep to the promise is to pass it through legislation. And once the leadership of the House is not from the same party with the executive, it will be difficult for the executive to achieve the aim of the party. But our concern is that these young Nigerians who have been elected, who have been given this opportunity to serve their country, because too many, we have over how many millions of Nigerians who want to serve this country but they don't have the opportunity. It's an opportunity for them now to stamp their name that I am a Nigerian and these are my contributions when I was given the opportunity to serve my country. So, incoming speaker should be somebody that can sit with the president. Sir, yes, we are to protect the interests of our party, but if these bills should go, these are the negative aspect of it to the country. If this one should go, these are the benefit aspect of it to Nigerians. Please, why can't we let this go and allow this to skate through? We should channel our interest towards candidates that have that negotiation skill, that can sit with the president and negotiate with the president in the interest of the country. Not the type that the president will say, go and do this, and they don't think again at all whether any other person will see the other side of what have been asked to go and implement. The only thing that is in their mind is just like, I will keep saying it, just like our brother from the North Central Plateau State, Wase. If Wase is asked to go and implement anything, he will never think about the negative aspect of it again to the country and to other citizens. The best thing for him to do is just to go par. Like when he presided, presently now as the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, he's the chairman of the Committee of the Whole. There's no bill, no legislation that will go to the House that will not pass through his office. He had opportunity the other time to preside over plenary for this power something bill. This is it power? Yes, this NNPC
Limited.
NNPC bill.
PIA Act.
Yes, petroleum industry bill. He presided over that, and he equally presided over electoral act amendment. The way and manner he handles it, you will see clearly the rubber stamp angle that Nigerians are looking at the 9th Assembly from. He portrayed it and he showed it so clear. So we don't want people that will bring such attitude to the National Assembly again. And from the number of persons that are ventilating their interest so far, that have ventilated their interest so far to lead the 10th National Assembly as Speaker and as a Senate President. Especially from the Speaker angle, I see them as young people, and the two standing out, and the two standing out, they are young, and Jaji is so pronounced even on the street as somebody who can do very well. Abbas too. Abbas has a PhD. He is a technocrat. He's a complete technocrat. Jaji is a pure grassroots politician. So from these two, Nigeria will not have it bad. But at the end, I think the younger ones should be given the leverage to lead the country. That's where I was so.
That's fair enough when you break it down like that. Let's start to look at what the assembly could look like. Let's assume your preferred candidate finds a way in, or doesn't. But actually, let's go to that in the first place. The 8th Assembly, if I remember correctly, led by Senator Bukola Saraki. Well, something special or different happened in that time, wherein he really wasn't officially was an APC member, but there was some sort of quote-unquote coup, that's how it's referred to, or political strategic movement, wherein somehow he emerged the leader of the upper chamber without really the express approval or backing of the party itself. Are there any fears that such could emerge this time around, especially with the variety we're seeing in the houses at the moment? If the main opposition, the PDP and others can somehow come together, is that a threat to the candidacy of Jaji and others? And also, assuming he does come into power, how is he going to manage this multifaceted house where there's so many parties represented? We have the APC, the PDP, Labour Party, SDP, YPP. I believe there's ABGA is also there. There are so many parties involved.
NNPP.
Yes. How would this work under him?
You see, this is democracy, and democracy entails bringing different people with different mindsets, with different political background into one place to work together. And this is what we are practicing. And I think it is even a good one for Nigeria now that we are, spreading or diversifying into other parties. Other parties are producing more and more people. So I want to go back a little bit to that notion of the rubber stamp. I am not in that school of thought, honestly, because the legislative arm of the government is designed to work independently, and so does, but work hand in hand, the legislative arm and the executive arm, and also the judiciary, to work hand in hand. So one thing that we should always consider is that the executive has that veto power. in cases of, things that are that could be termed as an emergency, project, or something that needs immediate attention, the executive has that power to do it. And then, but in the end, of course, the legislative arm had to follow with that. So what I'm trying to point out is that what happened in the 8th Assembly can never ever happen again, hopefully, and it's not even a threat to us, because as you said, now it is more heterogeneous. APC has about 162, which is still the majority.
Yes. And
of course, looking at it from subjective angle, it is only normal and better, as I earlier said, better to complement the executive, better to complement the electoral promises to make it work and to move ahead. It's only better, and the transition, the political process is transitioning every day, and which is, I believe we are transitioning for good. So coming back to the issue of Honorable Jaji, this is somebody that has that capacity, has that leadership quality, and as well, we don't need to worry about anything. It is the party that would decide how the zoning would be. If it is not zoned to the northwest, it is fine.
Is that still in the works, do you think? Or is it a case where it might be thrown open? The zoning by the party, is that set in stone? Would the party officially come out with a zone?
Obviously, the party will come out with the zoning formula. And
why I asked is, taking into account what happened in the PDP, the primaries, it is in their constitution, actually. It isn't even just a matter of choice that they're supposed to rotate. But at the end of the day, we saw the PDP saying they've thrown it open. Whoever wants to can do it. Could that end up happening?
Of course, party constitutions can change. But, I believe I wouldn't want that comparison APC with PDP, because APC is a more structured party. PDP, it's just normal for them to have those changes, and it's not a properly structured party. But APC has that structure, and our leadership will come out with the zoning, and we are ready, to follow and to abide by the party zoning.
All right, that's fair enough. Still, if you can, quickly paint a quick picture of, the speakership position as regards what we should be expecting, or let me put it this way, generally speaking, what are the expectations for the 10th Assembly? Interestingly, even though there are talks that the 9th Assembly is rubber stamp, they actually have presided over some of the most pivotal bills in the history of the country: the Electoral Act, the Petroleum Industry Act, the amendment of some key portions of the Constitution, which ironically has even led to some aspects of restructuring. Take, for instance, the movement of power generation from federal to states, correctional centers moving from federal to states. Just little by little, we're already seeing some of the restructuring that a lot of people have been calling for. So a lot of groundwork has been laid. What are the expectations for the 10th Assembly? What would be considered success for them?
Well, as we've seen in the 9th Assembly, you have just mentioned a number of things we have achieved, and so will the 10th Assembly. If the 9th Assembly then have what people think it's the rubber stamp thing, probably we wouldn't have achieved what we have achieved so far. So the 10th Assembly, of course, will come with its own peculiarities due to probably the heterogeneous nature of the House now. But I have a strong belief that We, as Nigerians, have voted right the executive. We are 100% sure that the executive will do the needful. And also, if we have the 10th Assembly, if we have the right people also in the 10th Assembly, it means that we're expecting wonders. We're expecting great things to happen in this country. So the 9th Assembly did well. And what we should expect is something even better in the 10th Assembly.
All right, that's fair enough. I'd like to get your final words on all of this, but let's start with Mr. Oriri. Your final words as regards the race for speakership, speaking to all stakeholders, whether it's the fellow House of Representatives in question, or Nigerians out there who are just watching, generally speaking, or perhaps even President-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the parties involved. What is your final words, your takeaway as regards the leadership of the House?
I want to, before I answer that question, let me say something in regard to the question you asked him. The expectation of Nigerians from the 10th National Assembly is so high. You see, we have experienced a lot of bad governance in the past, and there are a lot that have been achieved from the current administration, and there are a lot that Nigerians expected to see that they have not seen. We are expecting that the 10th National Assembly will come up with bills that will allow for community health centers across all on the day of elections. You see INEC taking ballot boxes to political wards, down to even polling units. On the day of election, they know these places. But during governance, now we are talking about governance because election has come and gone, is governance. We want every community in Nigeria to have access to medical care. We don't have it presently in this country. And this issue of corruption that is so high now in the country, civil servants in Nigeria should be taken good care of. In other advanced countries of the world, you see where there's provision from the government for the age, that is senior citizens. If there will be good housing arrangement for retirees to go home and then relax well, Nigerians will be very happy, and the issue of corruption will go down a little. And look at our educational system. The number of Nigerians running out of this country to other parts of the world now just to acquire education. I saw in the statistics this morning that over $4.something billion was spent on foreign education by Nigerian citizens. If that money is invested into Nigeria educational system, that is to say, there are so many Nigerians who have the means to pay to acquire this education, as there are still so many who don't have to get this education. So Nigeria, the 10th National Assembly should have this in mind, that if we have good educational system, there are still some who can pay for it. We should have it. And public schools, public universities, public secondary schools, public primary schools should be in a way that the families who cannot afford this higher level of education can have access to these lower ones. And if you see, again, going to electricity, we have been clamoring for steady power supply in this country over the years, but we don't have it. We don't have it at all. And if public sectors, the only thing you and I need from government is security and constant power supply. Once we can have these two, constant power supply and the security, I don't think anybody will even be talking about government. Government can't give us everything. If you go to US, citizens are not shouting about government. They are using their brain, using what they have to help themselves. But the moment it has come to the level that citizens are the ones who providing security for themselves, they are the ones providing electricity. That is why you see price of generator has gone up. Our roads, yes, this present administration tried in the area of road infrastructure. Yes, they tried, but we still need more. And on the general perspective, the leadership, the incoming 10th National Assembly leadership, all stakeholders, every one of us, we are all stakeholders in what is before us now. All citizens of this country, we are stakeholders, especially elected, the electorate, which is you and I. I have my voter's card, you have your voter's card, you voted for all of them. So now we should take it so serious and take Nigeria as the number one interest than our selfish interest. There are some others already who are planning and plotting to see that it must be my cousin, it must be my nephew, it must be my brother. That must be my own. Mine shouldn't be in the mind of all of us, but it should be Nigeria. It should be Nigeria. Whoever they will elect as speaker should be somebody that will put Nigerians' interest first. And whoever that will be elected as a Senate president should be someone that will put Nigeria interest first. And once the interest of Nigeria is first in all that we think, I think going forward we'll have a very strong country, that the unity will be stronger than what we even envisage.
All right, thank you so much for that. Mr. Mutuwali, your final thoughts and your appeal as we round up.
Yes. First is I would like to emphasize and call for one Nigeria. We have already passed through the process of elections, and I would like to assure all Nigerians that we have made the right choice and that we should be patient. What is left now is for our Greek party, the APC, to project and give opportunity to the right people for the remaining positions that are out there, starting from the number 3 and number 4 positions down to ministerial appointments, heads of parastatals and MDGs and so on, to make the right decision, pick the right people. Lastly, I would like to call as well for Aminu Sani Jaji to give assurance that he is the right person, he is the best person to emerge as Speaker for the 10th Assembly.
Thank you so much, Mr. Aminu Mutuwali. Thank you so much, Mr. Richard Oriri.
Pleasure.
It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much.